This episode of Nerdist News Edition is sponsored by Borderlands 3. Who will be the next big bad of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Ever since Thanos turned into the world's worst case of allergies, fans have been wondering what is next for Earth's mightiest heroes, and what does Marvel have up its sleeve for Phase 4 and beyond? And while Kevin Feige and company laid out a roadmap of what to expect at this year's San Diego Comic-Con and Disney's D23, there's still one lingering unanswered question on every fan's mind. Who's gonna replace Thanos as the Marvel Cinematic Universe's next big bad? Well, strap yourselves in because we're going to break down the top candidates plus a few curveballs just for fun. First up, the biggest bad of them all, Galactus. So how do you top a purple giant who throws planets? Well, how about a purple giant who eats planets for dinner? Created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in 1966, Galactus made his first appearance in Fantastic Four issue number 48. He's a cosmic entity that must feed on planets to maintain his life force, generally with little regard for those that are killed in his wake. And on top of this wanton destruction, Galactus comes with a few mini-bosses in the form of heralds, like Terrax and Silver Surfer, who could be used as smaller villains in the films building up to his entrance into the MCU. However, it might be a little premature to go to the Galactus route in the MCU, considering he shares a few similarities with Thanos. I mean, they're both large purple boys. He's another extraterrestrial threat without any real ties to Earth. He's cool with mass destruction, and as we said before, he's a big old eggplant emoji. If you think about it, he would have a pretty... Anyway, you get it. We might start to see the first inklings of Galactus in some of the upcoming cosmic films like The Eternals or Thor 4, but it might take some time until his big screen debut. And speaking of cosmic beings, our next pick for the big bad is the Beyonder. One of the most powerful beings in all of the Marvel Universe, he was first introduced in Secret Wars when he gathered all of your favorite heroes and nastiest villains to fight each other on the planet Battleworld. And plus, did we mention he wears a sweet leisure suit? Pretty cool. The Beyonder has seemingly limitless power. He's able to basically do whatever he wants and bring whatever comes to his mind into reality. So he's kind of like, I don't know, Q from Star Trek The Next Generation? The Avengers and the Fantastic Four usually have to have everyone on deck when combating the Beyonder, and usually that isn't enough to take him down. Having the Beyonder being the next big bad of the MCU will definitely be a step up in threat level from Thanos and could be a real challenge for the new Avengers roster. Plus, the Russo brothers have made it pretty clear they would come back to do a big screen adaptation of Secret Wars, and honestly, who doesn't want to see that? Next up on our list isn't just one villain, but a group of them. It's the Masters of Evil. First introduced in the early days of Avengers comics, this team was formed by our good pal Baron Zemo's father, Heinrich, and has had such luminaries as Ultron, Enchantress, Claw, Absorbing Man, and the Wrecking Crew. Marvel's already laid some of the groundwork for the formation of this team of criminals. If you remember, back in Captain America Civil War, Helmut Zemo was the driving force that led to the separation of the Avengers in the first place.
He's behind all of this.
And he did that by himself, armed with only one weapon, knowledge. Imagine him with a team of powerhouses. Plus, we'd only be returning for the Falcon and Bucky show, complete with his signature purple mask. But where is Paste Pot Pete? This is Paste Pot Pete Erasure. Overall, the Masters of Evil might be a little underpowered when compared to cosmic characters like Thanos or Galactus, but in the right creative hands, they could be just as dangerous. Plus, this could all wind up setting up the Thunderbolts down the line. I mean, God. Aren't comics the best? Another route Feige could take would be the Negative Zone baddie Annihilus. Originally a Fantastic Four villain who made his appearance in FF Annual number 6 back in 1968, Annihilus has since gone on to become a thorn in the side for heroes like Nova, Quasar, and Thor. But it was the 2006 comic book event Annihilation that really put Annihilus on the map, as you probably guessed from the name. During that storyline, the alien warlord led an invasion out of the Negative Zone in an effort to destroy the universe, and he very nearly did so if it hadn't been for the combined forces of Galactus, Nova, the Guardians, and the Silver Surfer. The Annihilation event showed everyone just how big of a threat Annihilus actually is, and if Feige wanted to level up from the Infinity War saga, well, Annihilation could definitely be what he's looking for. This next one will never happen, but we'd be remiss if we didn't include him. You guessed it, Onslaught. Yeah, you know, Onslaught, that evil psionic entity made up of the dark sides of both Magneto and Xavier. It was after Professor X rendered Magneto catatonic for ripping Wolverine's adamantium out of his body. You know, Onslaught, he seemingly killed all of the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, even though they really survived in this pocket universe called Counter-Earth. Because comics, you guys, Christ. As one of the more infamous storylines in the 1990s, we're looking at you, Spider-Man's Clone Saga. Onslaught really shook up the status quo of the Marvel Universe. With nearly unlimited psionic powers like telekinesis, telepathy, reality manipulation, Onslaught was basically an excuse for Marvel to kill off some of their titles that were lagging in sales and hit the big old reset button. Since his defeat in that crossover, he's only shown up a handful of other times, but there's no denying that in terms of raw power and impact on our beloved heroes, he's a force to be reckoned with, even if he straight up sucks ass. Now, if you've ever wondered how the Avengers might fare against their DC counterparts, the Justice League, well then you might be in luck because our next pick is the Squadron Supreme. Debuting back in 1969 as the Squadron Sinister, the Squadron Supreme are essentially analogs of the JLA in the Marvel Universe. Hyperion is Superman, Nighthawk is Batman, Power Princess is Wonder Woman, so on and so forth. And in their universe of Earth 712, they take over the government to create a utopia, but they end up ruling as dictators instead. Whoops! But the team does eventually realize their methods are wrong. This team's a prime example of how absolute power can corrupt absolutely. And as for how they could be the next big bads of the MCU, well, we could see a world where now that the MCU's Avengers are taking a siesta, the Squad establish themselves as the foremost super team on the planet. But as time goes on, they begin to put a stranglehold on Earth's political systems, and eventually this would force the Avengers to reform, and then they have to take down these so-called heroes. Now, we know we'll never actually see a Marvel-DC crossover, but this would be a great substitute and still a major threat to the Marvel Universe. Now, another villain we could see taking up Thanos' big purple mantle is one I've theorized about over on Explainiac, which you can watch right now wherever fine Nerdist content is streamed. It's the time-traveling baddie Kang the Conqueror. Now, Kang shows up from time to time in both the Fantastic Four and Avengers books, usually trying to take over the universe with his future tech, superior intellect, and, of course, the ability to time travel. I mean, it's a big old MacGuffin right there. While Kang's technology is far more advanced than anything Tony Stark could ever dream of making in a cave with a box of scraps, he'd be a formidable villain for any team to face. It might be a little early to include in the MCU at the moment, especially so shortly after the time-traveling shenanigans of Endgame. I mean, the filmmakers can't even agree amongst themselves how the timeline works, so why would you complicate it by adding another dude? And guess what? He's purple too. Why is every villain purple? That said, it would still be super cool to see past, present, and future versions of the Avengers having to team up to stop him across time, as they did in the comic book miniseries Avengers Forever. But for now, only time will tell. And finally, we saved the best for last, Dr. Doom. Victor Von Doom's long been considered not just Marvel's top villain, but one of the greatest villains of all time. Ever since his first appearance way back in Fantastic Four issue number 5 back in 1962, his iconic appearance, his tragic backstory, his intellect, and powers have all contributed to the indelible impression he's made on the pop culture landscape. And while his on-screen appearances thus far have been, well, disappointing to fans, especially ones like myself,
you're fired!
There's no time like the present to fix that. For those unfamiliar, Doom is the benevolent dictator of the fictional country of Latveria. And after an experiment in college went awry, something he blames on his classmate and known stretchy boy Reed Richards, his face became scarred, prompting him to wear his iconic mask for the rest of his life and go on to inspire rappers like MF Doom. What makes him so great is that, in his eyes, he's the hero who's been slighted by everyone else. He's a nice guy. He's an equal mix of Professor Moriarty, Lex Luthor, and Darth Vader, all rolled up into one gross suit. Seriously, I don't think he washes that. And with his genius-level intellect on par with that of a Mr. Fantastic or a Tony Stark, as well as a penchant for magic, the only thing that holds Doom back is his own arrogance, which is exactly why he's the perfect pick for the next big bad of the MCU. So there you have it, folks, our list of who could be the next major villain in the MCU. We won't know for sure who exactly it'll be until sometime in the future, but for now we're excited for whomever Kevin Feige and company choose as that next Thanos-level threat. But what do you folks think? Who do you think is the next big bad in the MCU? Are we missing anyone from our list that you'd actually like to see? And what villain do you think is worse, Paste Pot Pete or Stiltman? I'm gonna go with my boy Triple P. Let's discuss.
Thanks again to Borderlands 3 for sponsoring today's episode. The original shooter looter is back and bigger than ever. With 4 all-new Vault Hunters and over 1 billion guns, it's time to lock, load, and loot. Pick up your copy on Xbox One, PS4, or PC now. Let's make some mayhem. Rated M for mature.